All right. Good evening and welcome to the Friday evening Trainer Tribe Masterclass. We are 48 participants as of now, and we are very hopeful that we would have many more joining us during the course. So to honor the time of who has joined us on time, we will kickstart the session. So today's masterclass, we are going to explore innovative learning spaces, exploring agility and collaboration, a conversation with Shakti Chauhan. So it's a very exciting masterclass that we have planned for each one of you today. Hashtag Trainer Tribe. So all of you, if you would like to write about your experience of being part of this masterclass, any thoughts, any reflections that you may have on your social media handle, feel free to use hashtag Trainer Tribe, which is our official hashtag. As you're aware by now, the host, that is me, I have put you on mute. And the reason being that we are looking at a large volume of participants joining us. So to keep us engaged and not to be distracted with any of the background noise, we have kept you on mute. But we have the chat box available, and most of you have already started using the chat section. So feel free to leave your comments, questions, thoughts, opinions, any reflections that you may have on the chat box, and we will look at it at different points of this masterclass. So just to kickstart, there's a pulse check. So I would request my team member to launch the first poll, which is on a pulse check, just to see where we are at right now. So the question is, describe your mood today. Is it sunshine? Is it cloudy? Is it rainy? Is it thundery? Is it rainbow? All right, we have about 67% who have voted, and majority of the responses are coming cloudy, which is 43%. Right behind, we have sunshine, which is about 34%, 33%. We'll wait for a couple of more seconds before we close this poll. All right, so majority, 46% have said cloudy, and 33% have said sunny, 13 have said rainbow, 4% said thundery, and 4% again said rainy. Great, so that's a good pulse check to start off with. So moving forward, just to give you a brief of Quest Alliance. So this Trainer Tribe Masterclass is done as part of Quest Alliance's digital learning community for educators, which is Trainer Tribe. And to give you a brief about Quest Alliance, so Quest Alliance works in transforming school to work ecosystems through the self-learning framework. And we do it through education technology, capacity building, and collaboration. So far, we have reached out to 4,000 educators across 50 plus organizations. And we have reached out to 330 training centers, and we work with 45 partners in 22 states across the country. We're also working with 7 state government partnerships. Would like to take a moment to thank our donors and funders for actually spreading the word about this webinar. And I can see a lot of familiar names in the chat box and in the participant list. So thank you to them for actually promoting this webinar and for actually creating this platform so that you can actually join us on a Friday evening. So without wasting time, let's delve deeply into the topic of the day, which is innovative learning spaces, exploring agility and collaboration. This is going to be a conversation with Shakti Chauhan, and it's going to be an interesting conversation. So we would be sharing a few questions and a few responses. And throughout the masterclass, you're welcome to share your thoughts, your reflections, any questions that you would be having, and we will be taking at different points. So over to Shakti. Welcome, Shakti. So if you could just introduce yourself and tell us who you are, over to you.
Hello. Yeah, Lenin. Am I audible?
Yes, 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 yes. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So, hi. Good evening, all of you. Nice to be here with you. Yeah, I'm ready, Lenin. Let us start.
Yes. Yeah. Can you please introduce yourself for our participants? Tell us a little brief about yourself, and we can kick start from there. Yeah.
Definitely, Lenin. By profession, I'm a football coach and also a coach educator. Uh, I started my coaching career. If I talk about the coaching career, I would go back in year 2012, where I got the first opportunity to become a coach. And from then onwards, I started working. I worked with the women's national team as a football coach. Then I got an opportunity to work with the nursery of Indian football, that is Tata Football Academy. I worked there for a couple of years. And then from 2014 till 2018, I worked with the Indian Super League club called Delhi Dynamos. So this is my journey as a coach. And in 2013, I stepped into coach education because that was the need of the hour. Because all of us know that to make a good team, you need good players. But to make good players, you need good educators. And that was something which I was impressed. And I followed then that time technical director, Mr. Robert Ban. So he always wanted a good educators to come in to create good coaches. And through good coaches, we can definitely have good players. And if we have a good pool, a big pool of good players, definitely a national team could be better. And that is why, I decided to get into the coach education. Yeah. Lenin.
All right, all right. That's a great start, Shakti, and we are very excited and very happy that you took out time from your busy schedule. I know that for a fact that you're a soccer coach and you are being involved in educating young coaches, but we extend our gratitude to you for actually taking out this 1 hour from your busy schedule and being part of us. So just to kickstart the conversation, so I'll ask you, I know it's going to be a difficult question, but let me just put it forward. So if I was to ask you, how do you encapsulate your entire journey, your entire experience of being a soccer coach and now a coach educator in a few lines? If you could add like about 3 to 4 key highlights to your entire journey of being a coach and a coach educator.
So when I talk about coach, it's a direct relation between a coach and a player. It's like a teacher and a student. So it's a direct relationship. But when you talk about a coach educator, it's something different. Now you are creating, or now you're working with coaches who further are going down and working with the players. So there is a whole lot of different thing. My journey as a coach has been very excited. because at a very young age, I got an opportunity to work with the national team. I got an opportunity to work with the elite national players and international players. And I was still in my learning phase, and fortunate enough that during my coaching days, I had good mentors. And it is very, very important to have good mentors in life, because those are the people who are going to guide you, who are going to show you the right direction and motivate you to, be focused towards your aim or your objective in life. And that was very important that I had good mentors by my side. And as I already mentioned, that 2013 was the time when All India Football Federation you know appointed me, or upgraded me to become a coach educator, and I started conducting the AIFF certification course, which is a kind of an introductory to coaching, football coaching. So that was the time, and then from till date, from 2013, I've been conducted more than 30-35 courses across Pan India. I have touch based around more than 300, 400 coaches across Pan India. And I'm very happy and satisfied for what I have done till now. Uh, you asked me about three highlights, about my this short career. Uh, I would rather say, the first break, which I got, that was in 2012 when I was appointed as the coach of the Indian women's national team under 16. And then in 2014, I got an opportunity to work with Tata Football Academy. And in the same year, we won the under 18 National I League, uh, and also being undefeated. And then my time with Delhi Dynamos was an amazing time where, uh, I had a lot of opportunity to explore, a lot of opportunity to experiment, a lot of opportunity to learn. So these were the three moments which I feel were the highlight of my career.
Wow, wow. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Shakti. I know it's quite difficult to actually encapsulate the entire journey into few lines, but I think you did it very beautifully. Thank you for that. And I'm sure that we'll revisit some of these parts as we go along the masterclass today. Uh, So my next question is, so in the recent past, I mean, you started your journey by being a coach, and in the recent past, you have been involved in the education space a lot. You have been talking to educators, you have been listening to them, you have been sharing your thoughts, your insights, and you have been receiving a lot of highlights from them too. So, what are some of the things that you picked up from these conversations that you actually had with these educators, the coaches, trainers? Any interesting tidbits from the conversations that you've had?
Yeah, definitely. I was fortunate enough to, conduct courses where I had range of people from, young to old, experienced to freshers, introvert to extrovert. So there were different personalities whom, I had an opportunity to interact during this coaching courses or the coach education courses. The good part was that most of the coaches who, used to come for this, coach education courses came with an open mind, which I was very lucky, and which I was fortunate that if you want to learn something, you have to come with an open mind. Uh, it was really good that there was a sense of respect, which we all know that when you're dealing with adult, you have to adapt to a approach called andragogy, because it is very important to have mutual respect. And if I know everything is the attitude, I think it will be very difficult for convey your message across. So it was always learning on both the side. I always had this kind of conversation where it was sharing of knowledge rather than me giving a lecture. It was more of objective based. It was more about helping the coach educators to express themselves, uh, to guide him in a way where they find the solution to their own problem. So that was something I always used to do in my coach education session of lately. And as you said about some interesting facts, I'll talk about a state. I'll not name that state because I see a lot of people coming from that state. uh, uh, there were a few group of coaches, maybe in their late 40s and early 50s. Sometimes they feel that they have a lot of experience, and they don't want to change themselves. That's a big challenge, to explain somebody, to help someone understand the need of the hour. So it was difficult for me because I also got some kind of feedback. अरे सर, आप तो हमसे 10-15 साल छोटे हो, आपको क्या पता, हमने तो दुनिया आपसे ज्यादा देखी है. So those things like, I have seen more life than you, I have experienced more than you. But again, when I talk about learning or teaching, it has nothing to do with age. Anyone can teach you. It's all about the knowledge. It's all about the experience. So I was fortunate enough to transform my ideas, my opinion, in a way where I can make them understand that in today's modern generation, these are few things which are essential to move ahead. Time is changing. We have to adapt ourselves. We have to upgrade ourselves. We have to update ourselves. If we don't do it, we are not moving ahead. So that was something which was a challenge to me, but I was very happy that at the end of the session, those 7 days session, those guys came to me and told, "Sir, आप तो हमारे बच्चे के उम्र के, लेकिन आपसे बहुत कुछ सीख के जा रहे हैं." So that was something really good, and I really enjoyed. So that was something which I always keep in my mind. So that was some tidbit which gave me some happiness. Lenin.
Great, Shakti. I'm sure that you have many more interesting tidbits to share, and I'm sure that you're bubbling with energy to actually share it with us. And we would definitely love to hear that, and we will definitely look at an opportunity to have that conversation with you further. So one thing that I've always been intrigued, and my next question is something that is very interesting for me personally, is the being of a coach, right? So whenever we see the coach, I mean, whenever he or she is on the field, I always wonder what are the thoughts, what are the feelings, or what is exactly going on in the coach's mind, right? When the game is happening, or when the game has ended, what is exactly going on in a coach's mind, and how can he actually draw parallels to an educator, right? When an educator is in a learning space, how does he or she handle the learning space? What are the thoughts, what are the feelings that the educator will be having? So just drawing the correlation between a coach on the field and an educator in a learning space.
Yep, a very good question here, Lenin. When we talk about a coach on the field, the life of a coach is like a roller coaster. When he wins, when he's successful, he is at the top. When he loses, when he's unsuccessful, he falls down. So, he has that, his journey is like a roller coaster. Sometimes he's up, sometimes he's down. But that is also the essence of life. That is something which also, motivates and encourages to always do better. Uh, uh, Again, I would like to add in here that a job of a coach, especially a coach who is working in the field, his responsibility is not restricted to the number of hours he's working with the players on the field. It is during the field, that is during the session and off the session. So his role as a mentor, as a guide, as a coach is not restricted to that particular hours of session, which is putting down during the field session, but also before and after. It is very, very important to have that connection with the players. It's so important because coach, his mind is always working. Before the session, he's planning what to do, how to do, where to do. And during the session, he's always observing whether his plan is working as per his objective. And post the session, he's always reflecting himself, he's always trying to understand whether he achieved the objective of the session, what will be the next step, how can I make a progression. So the mind of a coach is always on a move. He is always thinking before the session, during the session, as well as after the session. And when I try to correlate a field session to a as you rightly said, the a classroom session, there is not much of a difference, because a job of a coach or a teacher is to educate. That is very, very important. And how to educate, it is all about the style of a coach. So every coach is unique, or every teacher is unique. They have their own style, they have their own personality, they have their own way of delivering their sessions, which again is in line to how their players or how their students are comfortable. That is very, very important. There are some teachers or some coaches who like to have session in, say, part methods, where they break down their sessions to help the students understand it in a synchromatic manner. But there are a few coaches or teachers who like to conduct the session in one go, where they don't want to break it down, and they want to have that complete sequence so that they can show the complete picture to the students or the players. So again, it is all about how you manage your session. So it is all about the man management, how you manage your session. And three things which I feel very, very important. The first thing is your planning, which should have all the ingredients, what you're going to use, because that is the tool. Second is how you're going to manage your session. Third is the execution and the feedback. So these are the 3-4 things which I feel are very, very important, which can be correlated uh, from a coach working in the field, or a teacher or a trainer working in a learning space. Lenin.
Sorry, I was just talking on mute. That happens in technology. Yeah, I think that there are some key points that you actually mentioned, Shakti, and we will be exploring more on that in the coming time, in the coming 20 odd minutes. We'll be looking at it into detail. But I think to kickstart, that was a good correlation to actually the soccer coach and an educator in a learning space, because things never change. I mean, it's just the platform or it's just the media, but the mindset almost remains the same, right? So moving forward, so this is exactly something that I would want you to talk to us about, because I think this is something that adds magic to the session today. So if you could just spend some time and tell us about this.
Yeah, as everybody can read it. There is a lot of synergy between an educator and a soccer coach in terms of sharing knowledge, motivating players, creating healthy environment, learning environment, mentoring them whenever they need your intervention. This is something very, very important, and a small quote which I most of the time use: a good coach can change a game, but a great coach can change a life. So as all of us understand that everybody is unique. Whenever we are dealing with players, whenever we are dealing with students, it is very important that in life, whether you are an expert or you're a mentor or you're a mentee, everybody needs motivation. Everybody needs positive reinforcement. So it is very, very important to motivate people, because motivation sometimes can do wonders, can do magic, which is very, very important. Creating the right learning environment is also very, very important, because it's our job as coach educators to create that healthy environment, that learning environment, where the player or the student uh, can explore, can come up with the idea, which is very, very important. Mentoring. When I talk about mentoring, a lot of coaches trainers, teachers, they think mentoring only during the session. No, I feel mentoring goes on and on. It can be before the session, it can be during the session, and it can be after the session. So it is very, very important to see the progress of your mentee, which is also very important, how he or she is improving. And the last part which I have mentioned is whenever they need your intervention. So this is also very important. When I talk about intervention, most of the time when I conduct courses and I give practical examination sessions to my student coaches, what I feel is whenever they try to help a player, they use the direct approach. That is just they get into the field, they stop him, and they start giving him the solution. That is something which I always reflect on them and ask them not to do. I explain them that we as coaches are dealing with humans. We are not dealing with robots, because when we talk about machines or robots, they take command, they do what you want to do. They cannot use their own ideas. But when we talk about humans, they have brain, they can think, they have heart, they can they have emotions and they can feel. So that is very, very important to create such environment in a way where you can you know give them that opportunity to think what is good for them, rather than being direct, helping them all the times, making them dependent on yourself, which we don't want, because we are not preparing the student for that particular situation or a player for that particular situation. We are preparing students or players for future. We want them to make decision for themselves. We want them to make better decision for themselves. We want them to take better actions for themselves, which ultimately not only helps them but helps the team. It also helps the team, which is also very important, because if we want to move ahead, it is not only I who is going ahead, it is we, all of us are moving ahead. So it's a team game, and together we have to move ahead. So that is why a role of a coach is very, very important, and that is why I quoted here: a good coach can change a game, but a great coach can change a life. We don't want to change a game, because in our life there can be many games, but if we can change a life of a player in a positive manner, I think he will be competent enough to change all the game by himself or herself. So this is something from my side, Lenin.
So just to rephrase what you were rightly saying, I mean, so a good educator can change a game, but a great educator can change your life. And you have rightly put it forward by saying that by creating that space in our learning spaces, wherein learners are given that freedom to explore, experiment, rather than being given direct instructions to make mistakes, embrace those failures, and then move on, rather than looking at it one directional, but looking at it from different directions and supporting them in that process. So I'll take a moment here just to look at the chat. I'm guessing we have some questions that have come up. So we have Brinda who's saying that it's a wonderful learning, drawing parallels in different learning spaces. Great, Brinda, thank you for that. If there are any questions that the others are sitting with, if you could put it up on the chat box right now, we could take some of them. Santosh Mohanty, hi Santosh, great to see you once again. Santosh is saying that this is good information for us. So we have one question which Sanjana is asking, which is, how do we identify our coach?
How do we identify our coach? Wow, that's an amazing question. So it's very, very important. We all, if we go to the mythology, if we remember the story of Mahabharata, when Dronacharya was teaching Arjuna, and then Eklavya found a coach, a guru in him, and started, practicing whatever he was preaching Arjuna. So that is something, definitely a coach will always find a trainee, and same way a trainee or a student, will find a coach. There's an instant connection. There is a feeling which is, you know which cannot be expressed through words, but it can, you know it can be felt. And whenever you will get that coach in life, your heart, your mind, your soul will, uh, give you that information that this is the person, or this is the coach who can take you to the next level. So definitely yes, it's all about, first you need to explore, you need to meet a lot of people, you need to talk to a lot of people, you need to understand. And when your philosophy and the philosophy of your coach matches, when your ideas and the ideas of your coach matches, I think then there is a big chance of both of you doing success together.
Great response, Shakti. Thank you for that. We'll take one more question, which is from Gagandeep Singh. Gagandeep is asking how to thrive in digital era as a coach, because there are various AI methods available right now, a lot of artificial intelligence methods right now. So how do you actually thrive as a coach or as an educator in the digital era?
Absolutely, a good question, Gagandeep. To be honest, if I talk about a football coach, yes, the AI has helped a football coaches, you know, at a next level. Earlier times when I was playing, we used to have only a coach and a manager, but now there is a team behind team. My 4 years of experience when I was the coach at Delhi Dynamos, we had the head coach, we had the assistant coach, we had the strength and conditioning coach, we had doctor, we had physios, we had measures, we had video analyst, we had media manager, we have logistic manager. So there are a whole lot of people who are working behind a team. And football nowadays has become more faster, more stronger, more quicker. So now the video analysis, the softwares have come in, which have helped the coaches to understand the goods and the areas for improvement of a particular player, maybe of your opponent also. So that is also something which has helped us. So again, if we talk right now, we are almost 90 people, 90 people sitting together, connecting through this way of online connection. So you can understand that uh, in today's generation, all this information, IT related technologies has helped all of us to grow and to connect, irrespective of places we are. So it is definitely an advantage, and all of us should take, use of it.
Great. I think, Shakti, you've made a very strong and very insightful point right here. Because most of the times what we consider technology or artificial intelligence or the digital platforms that are around, most of us, most of the times consider that as a replacement of what we're doing. But right now, what you've rightly said is to view technology more as an enabler rather than a replacement for you as an educator or as a coach. Something that supports whatever you're doing, something that enhances whatever you're doing, but not as a replacement. Uh, Before we go on, I think we'll take one more question, which is totally around emotional intelligence, right? So when there are a lot of players, a lot of students, a lot of learners together, and there's a lot of collaboration happening. So how do you actually strike that balance in accepting, acknowledging the emotional intelligence of different people?
Lenin, your voice is breaking. Can you come back again, please?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the question that, an interesting question, a couple of them in the chat box have written on them. On that question is, when we are collaborating, when you're thinking about a collaborative space, be it learners, young learners, players, how do you actually strike a balance in understanding emotional intelligence of everyone around? How do we actually do that? How important is it?
Yeah. So, you have the answer in your question itself. When you talk about collaboration, what is collaboration? Collaboration is teamwork. What is trust? Trust is unity. So that is something which always or most of the time they are in a team sport. And when we are also working in a learning space, so when we talk about the synergy or when we talk about collaborating it, as every individual is different. And even in when we talk about a team, everybody knows Barcelona. Messi is the best player, but Messi can alone not win all the games for Barcelona. He needs the support of his teammate, whether there is Griezmann or say Suarez or Busquets or Jordi Alba. You know, it is a combination. It's a combination of players. Maybe Messi is 10 on 10, but there are few players who are 7 on 10 or 6 on 10 or maybe 5 on 10, but together they have to work. So it is very very important as a coach or as an educator to understand that you will have some good players, some not so good players, but you have to strike a balance, which is important. uh, you know Helping them in the same situation, same scenario. We're giving them the opportunity. Also, whenever you ask questions, see that they are not closed question. It has to be open question where they have multiple answers. In this way, you also help the creativity of a player. And that is why I most of the time say always encourage creativity during your sessions. So that is something which we can always collaborate, or we can join in, where maybe from the football field to the learning class.
I know we have a lot of more questions coming up, but we will proceed and we will take those questions towards the end of the masterclass. So Shakti, now I'm very curious to know, I mean, we have been talking for about uh, 40 odd minutes right now on the being of a coach or the being of the educator, the correlation between the soccer field and the learning space. So according to you, uh, because soccer is a game which is based on agility, is based on collaboration, is based on quick decision making, improvisation, teamwork, and a lot of trust. Uh, and right now we are in this new normal wherein everything has changed into virtual, and our young learners, our young people are facing a lot of uncertainty, a lot of ambiguity. It's very volatile, right? What are some of the key things that you would recommend to the educators to actually focus on?
Uh, if we talk about today's difficult time, when it is very difficult for all of us to move out and start working. But again, where there is a will, there is a way. We have to be unique, we have to be innovative, we have to find ways to help people. And it's a challenge, but all of us has to do it. You used again the word called collaboration, trust, and I'll again try to collaborate, or try to synergize it as teamwork and trust. uh, every coach or educator has his or her own style and process. But the most important thing, whenever you conduct a session, whether on the field or in the classroom, the most important thing is the objective. You need to understand what is the objective of your session, because objective can be same, but the style of achieving objective can be different. Because I'm football coach, maybe my objective is something matching to an educator who is working in a learning space. But again, my style will be different than his style. So it is very very important to stick to your objective, because ultimately the job or the, the aim of a football coach in the field, or a coach educator in the classroom or the learning space, is imparting knowledge. So that is something we need to understand: how to impart knowledge, where to impart knowledge, when to impart knowledge. It is something we all need to understand. Lenin.
And also, I would like to relate this your this response to the initial response that you were mentioning about creating that space for experimentation, uh, giving your learner the chance to explore their own way of handling the different tasks that are given. Um, so, when you talk about patience and appropriate decision making are the keys to your problem. Uh, can you elaborate a little bit about that, patience and decision making?
So again, these are the four things which I wanted to talk at the end. Again, it is all about whenever you're conducting the session, you need to understand that, especially working with young, grassroots or kids or youth, fun element has to be there, because through fun we can have a healthy environment, and through healthy environment the learning process, is faster, it's convenient. Again, objective I already said, encourage creativity. I already discussed that you need to encourage creativity. When we talk about patience and decision making, yes, these are the two factors which we educators have to keep in mind, that not all the students or not all the players learn at the same pace. Every human being is different. Their IQ level and their AQ level is different. So that is why we need to again create such opportunities, create such environment in which uh, they have to take decision for themselves. Again, I would also sneak in a process, or a style called guided discovery. Uh, as coach educator, we always need to use this approach where we guide them to discover the problem or the solution to their problem, which is very, very important. So, rather than the straight approach, recreating the same scenarios where, they again get that opportunity to overcome the difficulties which they are facing. So that's something in relation to patience and decision making. Navin.
All right. So just quickly looking at the chat box and my WhatsApp, which has been buzzing for some time now. Uh, there's a question that Santosh is asking. Santosh Kundaram is asking. Many students or players come up with a lot of expectations, a lot of different expectations. How do you manage all these players, all learners at the same time?
A good question. When we talk about expectations, expectations are not only from players, they are from parents, they are from coaches also. So, everybody has expectation. When we talk about parents, every parent, wants his or her child, to become a Ronaldo or a Messi. Whenever they come to a, coaching training session, they always talk to the coaches, sir मेरा लड़का फुटबॉल कब सीखेगा, क्या ये रोनाल्डो बनेगा या मेसी बनेगा. So this are the expectation of the parents. Same expectations are also from the players, because every player, who comes for a, a football training session, always want to play, always want to be part of the team, always want to be a leader. Most of the time, leadership is a quality, but most of the time they want to be a leader. So they always want to be, you know in and around the action, the actual action which is happening. And same with the coaches also, because coaches also want that, maximum of their players perform at the highest level, so that, his team starts winning. And when his team starts winning, he can also get those limelight, those appreciation. So everybody has expectation. But as you ask me about players, yes, as coaches, as teachers, it is very, very important to be realistic, set some realistic goals, discuss with the players, because ability of a player is also very, very important. You should always have target in life, and to achieve those target, you should have milestones. Those are very, very important, because those milestones will always help you to track your record or your progress, which is important. Never say no. Yes, you can become a Messi, but to become a Messi, it's a long way, it's a difficult way. If everything works out as planned, and you never know, we can have another Messi from India. So definitely don't discourage or don't demotivate players or students that they cannot. But but also it is important to be realistic, set realistic goals, because if you don't set realistic goals, it will be very, very difficult when you don't achieve those goals. So that is something which, I would like to talk to all the, coach educators, or the, uh, educators, or the trainers who are, working with the team. Yes, setting up goals are important to help players or your teammates to achieve those goals are also important, but realism in life is important. Don't set unexpected goals, because when you don't achieve that, you will be disheartened. Also, as coach educators, I would like you all, when you discuss with your players or your your team members, try to see that you most of the time give them positive reinforcement. It is, it is very easy to find mistake in a person, and maybe I have 10 bad qualities, which if you talk to me, I will never be happy. But if you talk that one good quality about me, maybe that can motivate me, maybe that can help me. So always see that nobody is perfect. Let us help each other to be better. Let us help each other to be good. So everybody likes to listen some positive reinforcement. So that's it. If I talk about myself, I use uh, a technique which is called the burger technique, or the sandwich technique, where I start with some positive reinforcement, and then that masala, which is the feedback. Again, it's not with some harsh or strong words. And then I ended up with a motivation, where I always encourage him that whatever has happened, past is past, we cannot change the past, but yes, we have to think for future. So to achieve that in future, we have to work in present. So that is the way I teach. Lenin.
Great, great. Couple of key points that you actually mentioned right now, Shakti, is setting realistic goals, but setting it on agreed terms with the learners or with the players, wherein both of you having conversation and you're setting the milestones, you're setting the goals by having a conversation, and also creating that environment wherein you're not being judgmental, you're not looking down on the learners, but you're accepting and you're being considerate, you're acknowledging the emotions that come up. I think these are some key points that from what you have actually mentioned right now. Thank you, Shakti, for that. Moving on. All right, so I think it's the question time right now, and the chat box has been buzzing, and my WhatsApp also has been sending me a lot of messages on this. So as a coach and a coach educator, this is from Farhan Sheikh, how do you use a competitive medium like sport to build cooperation and trust among children or young people?
uh, can you come back again? Yeah.
So using a competitive medium like soccer or any sport for that matter, how do you actually build that trust or cooperation among young people or children?
Okay. So again, I already discussed about this during the session also. As a coach, very, very important to understand the strength and the weakness of your player. So because those are the area which you're going to work, and every player is not same, or every teammate is not same. So it is important to have those kind of peer dialogues, which is very, very important to help each other. And if I talk in terms of a coach, it is very easy, because I decide what to do for my player. Definitely in collaboration with the ideas or the willingness of the player, which is important. But when we talk about a corporate world, peer dialogues is very, very important. Need to be what we say, not introvert, try to express yourself. We have seen something bad has happened few days ago, which we don't want to talk, but it is very, very important to express yourself. A lot of people in life, what they do, they try to impress other. which is not good or which is not going to help you. Rather, I would say it is all about expressing yourself. It is you, yourself, what you feel. You don't try to behave, don't try to act what others want you to, because then you are not yourself. And when you are not yourself, you are not comfortable. And when you are not comfortable, I don't think so you can deliver your expectation. So that is something very, very important, that as a football coach, yes, you have the control and you can decide for your team, because that's a annual plan or a monthly plan or a weekly plan you are working on. But when we talk about corporates, it is important to have those weekly meetings apart from the you know work ethics, or work ethics as in work talks. We can always talk about personal life, we can talk about hobbies, we can talk about other things which can definitely lower down a lot of stress level, which is right now at peak in today's generation. Lenin.
Great points there again. What I am definitely taking back, and I'm hoping that the participants are also echoing the same, would be having peer dialogues, uh, understanding that you're not the only one, and there is a lot of support, a lot of help around. It's just the moment of reaching out and speaking and expressing yourself, and definitely in the present time, wherein we are getting used to this new normal, I think a lot of peer support, a lot of peer dialogues will actually help one another to actually get the maximum out of it. We have one more question from Karthik Pandit, who's asking, how do you help students understand about the foul language and anger issues on field? It can be the soccer field or a learning space.
Yeah.
And along with that, just adding on to, there's a second part to that question is, do you think it should be in a safe learning environment as far as the learning of the participants or experience is concerned?
A good question, Karthik. Here, I have experienced it, so I can share my experience. When I was a young coach, around 10 to 12 years back, when I was working with the grassroots or the youth, uh, unfortunately, there was an incident where uh, two players started fighting against each other and started using this abusive language, which is not good or which is not accepted at that age for anyone. uh, I could have easily, told them to just go away. I'm not going to continue teaching you or coaching you. But as I'm a psychology graduate, I know how to deal with such situation. I called both of them out. I asked everybody else to continue playing, because I don't want others to lose out because of those two. The precious time of training. So others started playing. I asked my assistant coach to take it over. And then, I started talking to both the players. I tried to understand what was it. It was a petty issue. And then I explained them the importance of, being good. And sometimes as a coach, it is also important to show your authority. And that is the time I showed my authority. And I told them that irrespective of the reason, irrespective of who is correct and who is not correct, I don't care. But this is something which is not accepted in this environment where I am coaching, where other players are there. This is the last time which I am listening from both of you. I will excuse you for this time. But if I see this again, I have to take up this issue with your parents. And maybe I will ask you to leave, because I don't want this thing others to also, take it. So they both of them understood. They felt sorry, and then I allow them to continue with the game. So that is something where sometime coaching style is also very, very important. Sometimes you have to be bossy, sometimes you have to be democratic, and sometimes you have to be casual. So depending upon the situation, you have to act accordingly. So it's a kind of a mixed coaching style, where sometimes you have to show your authority, you have to be boss, and sometimes you have to be casual. Yeah.
So
Then
yeah, so I was actually thinking about this piece of classroom norms, and setting it with consultation with learners, And sometimes when the norms are broken, how do educators actually step in to actually correct it, or also bring it into the consciousness of the learners and say that, these are the norms that we created, and because these are being broken right now, let's see how we work it out. I can see that in a way in what you are responding right now. There's another question from Jolsna who's asking, what are the challenges you faced while handling different teams? I'm sure that you have expressed it, but if there is anything that comes up on top of your mind, what are some of the challenges that you faced?
Yeah, Joshna, nice question. I'll just go a few years back when I was working with Delhi Dynamos. So all of Indian Super League is just like the Indian Premier League, where we have international players and national players, coming together, collaborating and playing together. So in season 2000, in season 2, in 2015-16, we had a star-studded team. The whole squad was an amazing squad. But when we talk about football, only 11 players get an opportunity to be on the pitch, and maximum 3 players can be substituted. So, in a match, maximum 14 players get an opportunity, but we had a squad of 26. So you can imagine what is going on the rest of the 12 players who are not getting that opportunity. So it was very, very difficult to manage or handle those players who are not getting opportunity, because everybody was pretty much similar. So when you have such situation where your team is very strong, but you cannot give everybody an opportunity, uh, then you know uh, your man management skill and the art of communication is very, very important. How you communicate with the rest of the players who are not getting opportunity, how you motivate them to keep on trying to fix their position in the playing 11, that is very, very important. And managing not only the best player of the team, but also the youngest player or the player who is not getting any opportunity. So trying to keep a good balance is called good man management. And I will like to bring in some example over here where if you are following football, you will easily reconnect the great Sir Alex Ferguson, who was the manager of Manchester United. He worked with Manchester United for 26 years and won a lot of trophies. He was the one who has produced a lot of superstar players like David Beckham and Cristiano Ronaldo, just to name few who are very, very famous. So, man management skills are very, very important when you are dealing with, uh, different kind of teams or, different kind of people. And art of communication, see that your words or even your body language doesn't hurt them. So it's not only about verbal, it's also about non-verbal. I hope I justified my answer to you, Josna.
Thank you, Shakti. I have a very interesting question from Akash.
Yeah.
So Akash is asking, how do you feel now after so many years of playing and coaching? What's next on your list? What's next in your career?
Hi Akash, nice to see you guys. Me and Akash were together at St. Xavier's College, so it's almost 20 years back. We are meeting again. So yes, Akash, definitely. If I talk about all this year of my playing and coaching, I'm happy, I'm satisfied that God has been very gracious on me, that He has given me a beautiful life where I can express myself, and it has been a very smooth ride up till now, touch wood. And if I talk about my uh, uh, my career, what I'm going to do next is I would like to share something on this platform, that I am one of the two coach educators from India, and uh, one of the 5 coach educators from Asia who has been shortlisted by FIFA for the FIFA mentorship program, which is going to be for the next 2 years. So, FIFA is going to mentor me. So, yep, uh, I am going to work in the field of coach education from now onwards.
Uh, great, Shakti. All the very best. And We are sure that you will be on top of your game like how you have always been. There are more questions coming up, but to your paucity of time, we will have to answer them on Trainer Tribe. And I'm sure that you will be joining us on the platform too. Um, so to the audience that we have today evening, you can share your thoughts, your questions, your reflections to Shakti. So Shakti is on Instagram, he's on Twitter, and he's on Facebook, and these are his handles. You can take a screenshot, you can write to him directly. He's been graciously open to taking your comments, your responses, and he'll be more than happy to share his insights even after this masterclass. So thank you, Shakti. And before we let you go, just wanted to let the audience know that we have Trainer Tribe, which is Quest Alliance's digital learning community for educators all over the country, in fact, all over the world. And we have close to about 1,070 educators from different walks of life, coaches, trainers on the platform right now. It's an open group, so you can find us on Facebook. My team member would be putting it up on the chat box, also the group link. So we look forward to seeing you all on the group, and wherein you can share your thoughts, and the questions that went unanswered due to paucity of time will be facilitated and answered by Shakti Chauhan. Right now, we'll be launching a feedback poll. This is very important that each one of you actually take about a few seconds to quickly answer the questions there, which will help us improve on our further masterclasses. So I will request my teammate to actually share the feedback poll. We'll take another 1 minute to 2 minutes. The poll is on, and uh, we have a good polling rate right now. We'll wait for another 1 minute before we close the poll. All right, so we have ended the poll, and we would like to thank you, Shakti. Thank you very much. As I mentioned in the beginning, we definitely acknowledge the fact that you are very caught up and occupied with a lot of your career-related objectives. But thank you for joining us on a Friday evening. That was a very engaging and insightful conversation. It was very heartening to hear from you, your personal experiences, and for connecting the dots between the soccer field and the learning space. Thank you for that. Thank you very much. Any last words from you, Shakti?
Thank you very much, Lenin and Akash, to getting me here, again, taking this opportunity to connecting with so many people, sharing my experience. And I hope, I did justice to my session. If I can help somebody, understand life better, it will be an achievement for myself. I would just like to thank each and everybody, ask them to stay safe, be happy, and God bless all.
Thank you, Shakti. And thank you, each one of you, for joining us on a Friday evening. Keep safe, take care of yourself, Have a great weekend ahead. Recharge yourself for the next week. And thank you. And we look forward to seeing you all for our next webinar, which is on Friday, the details of which would be put up on our Trainer Tribe Facebook page. So join us immediately. Thank you, Shakti. And we will be ending this call in exactly 30 seconds from now. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. We're ending the call right now.